This True Soul Nere stuck behind a rockfall, is he? Forgive me if I'm in no hurry to go digging him out.
We need to get that Nere guy unstuck, or those gnomes are done for. Come on, focus.
Nasty way to go. Suffocating slowly under a ton of rubble. Not a fate I'd personally relish.
And with that, welcome back to Baldur's Gate 3. My name is Pete, and today we complete a very special episode of this honor mode walkthrough. Today we're trying to free True Soul Nere and hope to survive whatever happens afterwards without taking any damage whatsoever. First of all though, last time we left off we learned of dissent within the Duergar ranks and set up a faction to work against Nere. We also met an old acquaintance in Barker's Root and learned of a secret rune powder stash that might help us clear the rubble that Nere is currently buried under. In our search for Philomene, who was in possession of the rune powder, we ran into a Merrigan legionnaire and some hellspores, and also had to fight 3 ochre jellies afterwards. Eventually then we found Philomene and obtained a rune powder vial, and on our way back to the cave-in we swiftly disposed of a few more Duergar and freed the gnome skick pit from enslavement. Now, before we get started today, there are 2 party members we haven't heard from yet, 3 actually, but Lae'zel doesn't have anything unique to say about the situation, as Thrinn on the other hand does.
So, are we saving this Nere from suffocating or leaving him to die? I'm fine with either, naturally. The last thing I want to do is ruin these nails digging through rock.
Now, we won't be able to gain or lose approval either way, but we are trying to free those gnomes, not to mention that Nere probably knows more about the journey to Moonrise Towers.
Gods, really? Oh, saving a drow I can understand, but saving gnomes? Oh. But if you insist on being a hero, I won't get in your way. Just don't expect me to help either.
Right, and with that attitude, Astarion does not exactly qualify himself for what comes next. Before we make any party changes though, let us also briefly speak to Shadowheart.
That drow, Nere, is going to be on his last gasp unless someone digs him out. Though not necessarily our concern, of course.
With her, we cannot comment further on the Nere situation, but we can give her the Idol of Shar that we picked up 2 episodes ago, even if the ways of Shar's followers seem to be more and more problematic.
You thought of me. Thank you. It's beautiful. I'll find a place of honor for it in camp. Nobody's ever given me anything before. What do I owe you in return?
Now, if we hadn't maxed out our approval with Shadowheart already, this conversation would be a nice way to boost it further. Either way, let's teach her about the principles of gifting, seemingly not a topic covered by Shar's teachings.
Thank you. Lady Shar teaches us to forswear material goods, but I think she'll make an exception for her own image. I wonder, perhaps this is connected to the Dark Justiciars. This is no coincidence, I'm sure of it. I need to keep an eye out for more signs. Learn more about the Justiciars' presence in these lands. It could be important. As long as I've prayed to Lady Shar, I've wished to serve her as a Dark Justiciar. There is scarcely a greater way to fully dedicate yourself to Lady Shar, save perhaps if you become the head of her church.
Now, to be totally honest, everything we've seen of the Dark Justiciars remains points at them being long gone, although whether or not that weakens Shadowheart's conviction, that remains to be seen.
All signs we've encountered so far, perhaps. I'll be keeping my eyes peeled going forward.
Alright, so I teased it already. For today's episode, we'll make some party changes. Shadowheart and Astarion will go, Lae'zel and Will are joining us, and that means we have some leveling up to do. Let's begin with Lae'zel. At fighter level 6, she unlocks another feat, and from the long list of options, we are going with Great Weapon Master. This not only allows her to perform an extra attack with her bonus action if she lands a critical hit or kills an enemy, but we can also increase her damage output per hit by 10 points at the cost of a -5 penalty to hit. In most situations, this trade-off is well worth it, and combined with abilities like Action Surge or her Battlemaster maneuvers, it can take her damage output per turn to a whole new level. For Will then, at level 6, we're doing something new. Shout out to Colby over at the D4 D&D Deep Dive channel for the inspiration, and inspiration is actually the perfect cue, because what fits the heroic folktale of the Blade of the Frontiers better than a dip into the Bard class? Not only does Bard synergize very nicely with Will's charisma-based Warlock class, it also unlocks a few fun abilities later on to boost his Pact of the Blade melee capabilities. For now though, we only get to choose spells and cantrips. For the latter, we'll also stick to Vicious Mockery and the Mage Hand. For spells, meanwhile, we get rid of the more defensive Healing Word and Heroism, and replace them with Bane and Thunderwave. That way, Will now also has spells to target 3 different attributes, Charisma, Wisdom and Constitution, very good to remain flexible against different types of enemies. For his starting instrument then, I kind of picture Will as a flute guy. And finally, we can grab one more skill proficiency, and instead of Deception, we go with Perception, just to help us spot those traps and treasures a little easier. And there we go. With this party, we can now tackle freeing Nere, but first, let's give Will the wondrous gloves that we picked up last episode. He can actually make great use of both the +1 bonus to AC and also get a 4th Bardic Inspiration charge from them. Afterwards then, we move out to visit the 2 traders in this area. We have picked up a lot of clutter and junk over the last 2 episodes, and can now quickly sell it off. Stonemason Kith actually does not carry enough gold to purchase everything we need to unload, so we also need to briefly stop by Corsair Greymon. Once more, good thing we left him alive during that first encounter on the boat. He can now purchase the rest of our unwanted inventory, and once again, the unique magic weapons he has for sale, we really want to leave those be for the time being. And with that, I think we are good to go. Let's report back to Sergeant Thrinn.
Yes, True Soul?
Now, before we discuss the plan, let's ask about the scrying eye. Maybe she's got an idea about who's actually looking through it.
Scrying eye. Nere says the absolute scryers see through 'em. Watching. Judging.
And speaking of the absolute scryers, those are presumably located at Moonrise Towers. Let's find out what she knows about the place.
You don't know about the seat of the absolute? No doubt you'll see it for yourself soon enough.
Now, at this point, we neither want to inform her about the plot against Nere, nor do we want her to punish the gnomes even harder, so let us instead give her back her boots. Yes, trust me, this will all make sense soon.
Never thought I'd see these back. Nasty sneak gave even Gek the slip. Crafty little shits, these ones. You need a stiff cane to keep them in line. Here then. His bounty's yours.
We'll get to pick our reward in just a second. For now, let us tell her of the explosives so that we can finally clear the cave-in.
That's so. Set it near the rubble and ignite it. That'll blow the drow out. The slowest of you lot is getting tossed to a Rothe in heat.
And there we go. As a reward for handing over the boots, we can now pick one of 2 rewards. The Armor of Uninhibited Kushigo directly interacts with the Monk class's Patient Defense, so it's not really all that useful for us, while the Bracing Band boosts armor class after shoving, and that actually includes the knockback from Will's Eldritch Blast, so we're giving this ring to him, even though of course the best defense is not armor class, but avoiding attacks in the first place. At this point, let us then approach the cave-in. We did obtain the rune powder vial from Philomene last episode, but for the task at hand it is actually somewhat overkill, dealing up to 38 force damage. Good thing we also picked up some smoke powder satchels and bombs during our travels, which are much less potent and therefore also much less valuable, but still very capable of doing the job.
Get back! Out of the way! One spark and it'll blow.
So we place 1 smoke powder bomb. Gnomes and Duergar already cleared the area, and we want to do the same over to the right here, and then we can use Will to set off the explosion.
What are you waiting for? Baldur, can you hear me? Baldur! Finally. Worthless slaves. Your incompetence has been my ruin.
Nere does not fail.
Now, it is very important that we intervene here, not only for Karlach's approval, but also to still be able to complete the Save the Gnomes quest.
You care for the weak, True Soul. Most curious.
Understandably, Nere becomes suspicious at that, so let's try to reassure him that we work on the Absolute's orders. For better or worse, everyone else already seems to believe it, and there really is no need to give away our hand this early.
And so you say. And yet the Absolute demands that I cull them. Thrinn, carve out her heart and serve it to the Rothe. If she indeed is a true soul, let the Absolute save her.
Right, looks like Nere is not one to act hesitantly, but we have an ace up our sleeve, and his name is Brithvar. By the way, even if we don't specifically call him into action here, Brithvar would now intervene no matter what.
Damn right it's time. You owe my crew a 10 days' worth of coin, Nere, and the reckoning's come.
You bargained with this wretch. How vexing. Nere is not without mercy, True Soul. The rat has given you a chance to earn my favor. Strike him down. Prove your faith.
Alright, moment of truth, and this is where we do something that might surprise you. We are siding with Nere after all. Now, in the grand scheme of things, it won't make much of a difference, as you'll soon see, but for now it is vital to ensure that we take no damage, even if our entire party will disapprove.
Damn it! I'll rip your flesh clean off!
Right, and there we go, into one of the larger combat encounters we've had so far, and a quick glance at the initiative tracker at the top of your screen already confirms why it was a good idea to side with Nere. Brithvar and his allies amount to a total of 3 enemies, and even if we will see a few more join soon, we definitely have the upper hand here, and enough cannon fodder on our side to stay safe. Here you can see it, by the way, it took just a few moments. Dana has joined Brithvar's side. She'll get some reinforcements later too, but they likely won't turn the tide. Now then, let's get to it. We positioned our party over here for a good reason, to keep friendly Duergar between us and the enemies. Those enemies we can now start aiming at. The barbarian Thud is arguably the most important target early on, as he sports the highest hit points. Once the attack is done, we retreat. Kerr here is more or less guaranteed to target von Mara. The ensnaring strike succeeds on the second try, and then Kerr moves dangerously close to the lava, and she's not alone in that. This is where our plan slowly starts to unfold. How about we give Sergeant Thrinn here a nice little shove? As an ally, she won't resist it, and the lava will take care of her quickly. The initial impact already deals 39 points of damage. She'll take 10d6 more at the start of her turn. That should be enough to reclaim our boots soon. With the Duergar over here standing so nicely together, we can then also have Karlach throw a smoke powder bomb. The blast radius more than enough to hit them all, even if the game does not initially show that. Because smoke powder bombs behave a little weirdly in this game, the explosion damage is also actually triggered twice. I won't go into the details explaining this here, suffice it to say that makes them very potent weapons. Still, we won't throw another, we need our meat shields alive for a little longer, so let's throw the returning pike at Thud and end Karlach's turn by moving away. Thud then moves over to strike another Duergar, that keeps us safe, while Daltha over here has spotted the same opportunity that we saw earlier. And that's Kerr in the lava too, likely dead soon, which brings us to Nere. As you can see, the drow is effectively capable of mind-controlling others. Brithvar has been turned to our side, even if only for a few turns. Now, unfortunately, this also shifts the power balance in this fight a little too close in our favor, so let's have Will do something about that with 2 Eldritch Blasts. Dalthar is actually flicked over the lava and into the fiery chasm beyond, their loot forever lost, but it wasn't anything special, while Dunnel here somehow survives with 1 hit point. Let's bring it over to Lae'zel then, who can take care of Third first. His reckless attack gives her advantage, and we don't need the Great Weapon Master bonus to get the kill. As a result, we now also unlock a bonus action attack, and that's very handy, because the strike against Dunnel here misses, so another one is needed. This also officially marks the first direct kill we've dealt. All others were still seen as happy little accidents. Now, however, we've got allies with the Witness tag, who will confront us after the fight. That is, if they survive for that long, and you may be able to see where this is going. For now, we are safe though. Let's pull back and see how the rest of the turn plays out. Alright, looks like most of our allies here are essentially wasting their turns on units that will die soon anyway. And indeed, following a magic missile, Thrinn succumbs to the lava. Her body, however, remains intact for us to loot later. At this point, our enemies are also reduced to just 1 unit. Good thing we've got reinforcements arriving in just that moment. The 2 guards from the dock that greeted us once we entered the area. Seems like they have no sympathies for Nere either. Nonetheless, we have some thinning out to do on our side, I think. Von Mara here will be the next target. 2 shots from Sylvia take her down, and we earn more XP even for friendly fire. Let's target Greymon with the last shot. Kerr then dies in the lava, and we can have Karlach throw her pike at the mind-controlled Brithvar. I'd much prefer him dead as an enemy than dealing damage as a friendly. Upon taking damage, the mind control is also removed. Sadly though, the second throw can't quite get it done. Nere deals a little bit more damage, but remains passive overall. Apart from the mind control thing, he is actually not that dangerous, except for one particular legendary action that we'll discuss later. For now, let's ensure Brithvar goes down. 1 of the 2 Eldritch Blasts here should find its target, and it does, and we're another 75 XP richer. That battlefield is starting to look a little cleaner now. Let's continue with Lae'zel, who I've transferred the smoke powder bombs to. After all, we've got 3 enemies standing so nicely together here. And in this case, we can also throw a second one. We still have 8 more. Then we use the Misty Step amulet to get Lae'zel back into a safe spot. I'd say we are making good progress and should be able to finish this fight within the next 2 turns. Drow then kills the first of the enemy reinforcements. Thankfully, we still get XP for that. Greymon, meanwhile, only spends his turn healing up. That won't make our job that much more difficult though. The important bit is that we now dispatch of the last friendly before we kill the last enemy. Nere, by the way, won't care about anything that happens in this fight. He's essentially just happy to be here as long as we leave him in peace, and that is exactly what we'll do. Otherwise, we would not be able to experience a very interesting conversation with him afterwards. So, we are down to 2 Duergar enemies and 1 ally. We now use Will's Eldritch Blast against Greymon. Sadly though, that's a double miss, and Lae'zel is not close enough to do anything without putting herself in harm's way, so we'll just skip her turn. On the next one though, we should be able to wrap this up. Orgarth then takes a page out of our book and throws a smoke powder bomb. One more reason why we're staying far away from the action. The 2 Duergar exchange blows, will happily take it, and Morgal actually also moves into range, although thankfully only for a silence spell. As a cleric, she won't be able to harm us from this far. So I would say the situation here looks very manageable at this point. Let's send Sylvia in to deal with Greymon first. That's him down, lovely, even though we don't get XP for it for some reason. And we still have one more shot left to give. Let's aim it at Orgoth. With Karlach then, we throw, business as usual, one pike at each target. Sadly, none of the hits deal enough damage for a kill. Nere fixes that for us on his turn, and just like that, we have created the exact situation I wanted to see. Nere alive as the last ally, and all other Duergar dead. Seems like Miss Hairyfoot can play that whole betrayal game even better than them. In anticipation of the upcoming conversation, we also want to group our party together so that we are in range of guidance and the like, and to make absolutely sure that Morgal does not get another turn, we cast Hex on her for dexterity disadvantage, and then shoot her with 2 more Eldritch Blasts. Sadly, that does not quite get the job done, but Lae'zel may have learned a thing or two from Karlach about throwing spears. Well, or she hasn't, but that's what the Hex was for, to increase our odds of dealing full damage with the emergency smoke powder bomb.
You worthless, treacherous little rats. You don't deserve the death you got. I should have made it last. As for the rest of you, slave worms, you've caused enough trouble.
Right, a little bug here for the wisdom check that we want to go with. Normally, this option is displayed as enter Nere's mind and tell him that the gnomes need to be set free, and that is exactly the outcome we're hoping for, so let's pump everything we've got into this, guidance and one of Will's bardic inspirations as well.
Yes, it will be so. Gnomes, you are slaves no longer. The Absolute may have use for you yet. This was meant to be a simple operation. I arrive, those pack animals clear the debris, and I walk into the temple. Instead, I've been beset by incompetence, treachery, and now this? The Absolute's business remains unfinished.
And now that we have him here, we can perhaps finally learn what business that would be exactly.
Important business. My orders come from General Thorn himself. I need you to deliver a message to him. Tell the General that I did what I could, but that the route through Grymforge is impassable.
Right, just in case you missed the scope of what he just said, we have just learned that General Thorm, and chances are he's talking about Ketheric here, is alive and well, despite the name being mentioned in documents dating back decades or even longer, where he was mentioned as the leader of Shah's Dark Justiciars. Reason enough, I think, to probe further into his allegiance with the Absolute.
The favorite. Nothing is done in these lands without his knowledge.
Well, that's rather interesting then, and might also explain his interest in this place here, which was once a Sharan fortress.
When the General entrusted me with this mission, he warned there may be some damage caused by a monster let loose in the temple. He never mentioned this.
Right, sounds to me like we might want to pay this General a visit, and I think we all know where that's going to lead us.
The General resides at the Moonrise Towers, but you cannot simply travel there. The land surrounding the towers is blighted by a deadly curse.
No surprise here, but Nere sounds like he's made the trip before and can help us reach the place safely.
I had a moon lantern to keep the curse at bay. Alas, the rocks did it in.
Broken. We meddled in these paltry affairs, and for what?
Calm yourself. We have allies on the surface. Seek them out, and play this lyre to call on their guard. Whatever you do, do not attempt the journey to Moonrise without his protection. I promise you it will not end well.
At this point, let us also briefly mention Minthara's name, even though her capacity to help us is much reduced at the moment.
Minthara? I'm surprised she hasn't got herself killed on one of her reckless raids. You would be wiser to align yourself with me than her. Few earn the General's favor. I am sure to be among them.
Right, this here is a crucial point in the encounter, because if we now simply agree to go to Moonrise Towers, we miss out on an interesting development this conversation can take, so let us instead reject his help and see how he reacts.
The Absolute should be demanding I take your head for insolence like that. But I can't hear her voice. What's going on? What have you done?
And at this point, we can in fact dump the entire story about the Absolute being a mind flayer front onto him, and reveal that he has no right to be as smug and self-important as he acts. If we were to pick any other dialogue choice, by the way, we would trigger a fight, which we don't want, at least not yet.
Impossible. I should slit your throat for speaking such blasphemy.
We are now offered a persuasion check to double down on our tale, and as a bard, tall tales are our specialty, even if this one is very much true.
I don't understand. I've been following those wretched beasts.
Now, as tempting as it may be to rub his face in it, if we want to avoid further hostilities, we need to pick one of these skill checks. Let's persuade him to turn away from the Absolute.
Perhaps you're right. Perhaps I should. Dying for a cause is one thing, but for a mind flayer, for filth like that... No. I owe you a debt, it seems. You've saved me from worse than the Duergar.
Alright, and there we are. Every last Duergar is dead, we have taken no damage at all, and for the time being, Nere still remains in the area and is not hostile to us. He has also given to us the Spider's Lyre, apparently needed to at least somewhat safely traverse the shadow-cursed lands, and entirely obsolete because we already looted one from a knocked-out Minthara all the way back at the Emerald Grove. We did also successfully free the gnomes, earning will and inspiration. Let's officially complete that quest now by speaking to the former slaves.
At least some of us are safe. Praise Iron Hand. If only there were more blessings to count.
Now, as you may recall, Philomene told us to falsely report her death to Larida to get out of whatever they had going on. I don't think we need to put the poor gnome through that though, and maybe we also don't want to tell her the truth, so let's just keep her hoping for now.
May Iron Hand be with her.
My sister, dead by Nere's hand. Myrna, I'm so sorry. Baldur! I was so worried. Did Nere hurt you?
No, I'm all right. Did the sergeant hurt you?
Oh, who cares? We're together now, thank Iron Hand.
We ought to thank someone a little closer by, I think.
Gaedel Iron Hand you may not be, but you damn well fight like him.
I'm grateful, don't mistake me, but why help us? You're one of them, aren't you?
Well, that's what people were thinking at least, although I believe we made it very clear that we're playing our very own game.
Well, that didn't much look like begging, but no complaints from me. Here. The Iron Hand gnomes honor their debts. With Walburn gone, that falls to me.
Make it quick. We need to find Wulbren. Now.
You're a little late, Barkus, my lad. He's already been sent to Moonrise Towers. We were just slave hands to the cult, but not Wulbren. He knows things. Things they want to know, too.
What has he gotten himself mixed up in now?
And indeed, there is no need to beat around the bush. We know exactly what Wulbren discovered and why the cultists may have an interest in him.
Well, then it seems you've saved us twice over. Gods above, she bloody did it. Of course she did. Wulbren has a way of attracting true believers. His quest for rune powder was the latest dream he stuffed in our heads. Yeah, and he was bloody right. He found it. A small cache sitting down here with a manuscript. He just made sense of the formula when the cult jumped us, so he burned the damn thing. If there's a single copy left, it's sitting in his head. Those absolutists pull it out and make rune powder, they could flatten the whole of the Sword Coast.
Well, then we should probably get to rescuing him soon. Maybe Baldur can tell us how much time we might have left.
Not long enough. My people can barely stand, and we have business back in the city. Business that sent us after the powder to begin with. The formula might be gone, but we still have the barrels.
And just like that, you'd leave Wulbren behind. I knew you lot were foolish, but I didn't know you were cruel.
If you knew half as much as you think, my lad, Wulbren might have kept you around.
Right, considering what Wulbren knows and how dangerous that knowledge may be in the wrong hands, seeing them make no effort to rescue him is indeed tough to see, although considering how their situation turned out down here, one can also hardly blame them.
It is, and if the pick swung the other way, I'd expect Wulbren to do the same. My people will find somewhere to regroup across the lake, then on to the city. If you find yourself in Baldur's Gate, seek us out. We'll raise a glass to Wulbren together.
Covered in dust and... Wait, is that a bruise there?
Stop fussing, it's nothing, I swear.
I'm your husband. It's my job.
I wouldn't have it any other way.
Finally now, let's speak to Barkus separately.
Well, you did it.
And he sounds surprised, even though we did exactly what we said we would, and perhaps a little extra.
Nothing good happens in the Underdark. As you know, some of the Iron-Hand Gnomes, my friend Wulbren among them, have been taken prisoner in Moonrise Towers. They're not even going after him. I wish I were surprised. And so, to Moonrise Towers I go.
Now, at this point, we are offered some background info on the Iron-Hand Gnomes. Let's go with that to learn a little more about what makes them tick.
Their fight has little to do with freedom and everything to do with power. I told Wulbren not to go near them. But did he listen? He did not.
And, well, it seems like our journey will indeed take us to Moonrise Towers soon, so let's offer to help the other captives if we can find them.
Friend. Singular. I'm looking for Wulbren. If anyone else should be incidentally helped, then bully for them.
And that does indeed sound like Barkus is holding a grudge. Let's find out more.
It isn't personal. No one likes the Iron-Hand Gnomes except the Iron-Hand Gnomes.
At this point, we can also offer him to rest up at our campsite. After everything he's gone through, heading straight into the next danger might be ill-advised.
Certainly not. In case you haven't been paying attention, my friend has been taken captive. He needs me.
Well, he also needs someone who can actually help, not exactly how I would describe Barkus, considering our first two encounters.
Ha! I was unlucky twice. The odds of it happening again are very slim. Then again, a small rest might be prudent. Give me time to think. Fine. Show me where to go, and I'll try my luck. I'll have a better chance of rescuing Wulbrin if I'm at my best. And, thank you.
Alright, and with that, Barkus now runs off, and we are left to decide the fate of Nere. I mentioned his legendary action earlier, the main reason why we sided with him in the previous fight, as his psionic visage essentially makes him not only immune to physical damage, but also deals damage to anyone trying to attack him while it is active, regardless of that attack's damage type. That way, this legendary action makes it very difficult to deal with Nere without taking damage yourself, but since that is exactly the plan here, we need to proceed with caution, and the character best suited for that is Astarion. The plan here is relatively simple. We move the entire party, except for Astarion, far away, put them into hiding, and then wait for a moment where Astarion can safely stealth as well, and then we strike at Nere from behind. Here we go, we've dealt 37 points of damage and have triggered the psionic visages. If we now attack Nere again, the attacker would take damage in return, which of course we don't want. So, how to avoid it? Well, that's where the surprise comes into play. Psionic Visage can only trigger once per turn, and it also only lasts for one turn. So, up next, we now want to move Karlach in. The important bit here is that with a dexterity of 13, she is guaranteed to go after Nere in the initiative, and that's important so that we can act after his turn, but still during the surprise round. If we now end Astarion's turn, the whole plan comes together. Nere can't do anything, but loses the psionic visage at the end of his turn. He can also not trigger the ability again for the rest of the round, and that means we can now unleash. Two throws from Karlach already get us close. Sylvia here should have little trouble finishing the job.
Another parasite. Collect it. It might be useful.
And indeed, as a true soul, Nere drops a Mind Flayer tadpole that we want to collect, but first let's cast Speak with Dead on him.
The corpse regards you lifelessly.
Now, we have answers to some of those questions already, but he was reluctant to share more about his mission. Maybe that has changed now.
Find path to temple. Orders of general.
Okay, and what about this temple is so important?
General's necromancer. Balthazar.
Right, now that's a new name that we definitely want to keep in mind, and maybe we can also gather more info about General Thorm.
Absolutes chosen. Moonrise Towers.
Nothing new there, and it also doesn't seem like he'd be able to give us any extra intel on the journey to Moonrise Towers, so let's ask about his Duergar traveling party.
Mercenaries. Absolute unites.
And for the final question, let's have him retell the story of how he got trapped.
Corridor. Triggered old trap. Gave in.
The spell's power wanes. You can ask no more questions.
Right, and with that, let us now approach Nere's corpse. There is one very important thing that we can take from it.
The decaying corpse lies before you.
And yes, I was talking about the head, not the tadpole. For Sylvia, a DC 10 strength check is actually not too easy, but we need to pass it to unlock another inspiration.
The head breaks off cleanly from the drow's body.
And there we are. With Nere's head in our possession, our Dark Urge is happy, and we have something to bring back to the Myconids. In terms of other loot, we can grab the aforementioned Mind Flayer Parasite. Nere would have actually given us a second one had we not turned him away from the Absolute. I'll talk more about that later. In addition, we get the Sword of Screams, dealing an extra 1d4 psychic damage, and a pair of boots that lets us cast Misty Step once per short rest.
Object catches your eye. A lantern, it seems, though no light flickers within.
Wonder if that's one of those moon lanterns.
A thick layer of dust coats the bottom of the lantern.
Damn. Too broken to help us through the shadows.
Now, we have learned plenty about the moon lantern already, but let us investigate the item nonetheless. Maybe we can pick up something more.
You see no burner or wick. It was not fuel that lit this lamp, but magic.
And to discern the nature of this magic, we can now attempt to pass a DC 10 Arcana check.
This is pixie dust, used to illuminate a lamp, or left behind after a pixie's death.
Right, so not much use in its current state, but we knew that already. Let us now get to looting. Priority number 1, let's get our boots back from Sergeant Thrinn. She also carries a ring that improves thunder damage for wearers of the Absolute brand, another reason why we gave it to the entire party back at the Goblin camp. The items we can collect from the other Duergar are not too shabby either. Barbarian 3rd here has a magic cap that gives its wearer the Wrath condition if they fall below half health, and from the body of Elder Brithvar we can pick up the Deep Delver, a pickaxe that inflicts the Shattered condition, making the target take more damage from subsequent attack with the weapon. In his journal then, Brithvar also bemoans that his clan has gone soft, shining a bit more light into his disdain for the Absolute. The body of Kerr is also still intact and lootable in the lava over here, and we can also find yet another of these devil foil masks on the table, earning us 35 XP. This here then, the reason why we did not purchase anything from Greymon earlier. We can now pick up both the Bow of the Banshee, which potentially frightens targets it hits and also deals more damage to frightened targets, as well as Jorgerel's Greatsword, a +1 weapon, for free. The other bodies mostly have standard weapons and armor on them, and there is more to be found inside the chests surrounding Greymon's former trade shop. One of them is also locked. Good thing we have a Starion with us to deal with those kinds of nuisances. From the chest then we can collect several rings, perhaps once belonging to the gnomes. The latter here at least is signed by Wulbren and claims gnomish possession of these Underdark regions. The rest of the makeshift tent here then only offers small bits and bobs. None of it will be used for anything else but trade goods. And so, once the place has been cleared out, we can now explore the corridor that Nere came out of. A dead gnome lies in here, with no loot that we might want to grab, and the door in the back is also pointless to unlock at this point, even if the poison gas doesn't pose too much trouble, but sadly there is just no way onwards for us at this moment, so we don't need to risk it. Instead, let us now grab the last few items of value that were previously inaccessible because the Duergar kept a close eye on them. A healing potion from the table over here where we killed the scrying eye, a few containers near an isolated small campsite nearby, and on the platform overlooking the entire area we just fought in, a scroll of web. Following the hostilities, the 2 stonemasons have also vanished. Good thing we sold off our inventory when we still could. Their wooden trunk here has nothing of value, and the same is true for the chests near the docks, those few we did not loot immediately upon our arrival. And so, I would say, with Nere's head in hand, let us now return to the Myconid colony and report the good news to Sovereign Spar.
Peacebringer, be at home.
And let's hand over our trophy. With a weight of 5, the head was actually quite heavy.
The drow sought to shatter our circle. Now his flesh may feed its growth. In dealing death, You have brought this circle life, and thus we name you Life Chanter. As our circle grows, so shall your song. Wherever you go, only listen, and you may hear it.
And there we go. With the Myconids now joining in a celebratory dance, we are given the Envoy's Amulet, giving its wearer the ability to grant someone a +2 bonus to persuasion checks. Not exactly the kind of thing Sylvia needs help with, but who knows, it might come in handy down the line. Finally, let us now also have another chat with the gnome Thula.
I'm coming along, just not fast enough. Any word on my people?
Well, let's begin with the Duergar that attacked her. Those are dead now, and have been for a while.
I'm almost sorry to hear it. I hope to have the pleasure myself. There's plenty more guarding my people, but I'd say you've made a fine start.
In that case, she'll be happy to hear what we've got to say next. Those gnomes have been freed too.
You did? Then I owe you more than I can ever repay. Thank you.
And since we're polite, let us also inquire about her recovery.
Don't know. Longer than I'd like, but a slow recovery's still a recovery.
And there we are. Nere is dead, the Duergar are dead, the gnomes are free, and we still haven't taken any damage. One quick note then about the extra Mind Flayer parasite that we could have picked up from Nere. We only would have gotten that if Nere had remained faithful to the Absolute, and ultimately I decided that we will probably gain more than enough tadpoles for what we need over the course of the rest of the series, so skipping the opportunity to turn him away from the Absolute in favor of obtaining a second tadpole that we might eventually not even need, that just didn't feel right. In the end, he now died knowing that he fell for one big ruse, and I think that is a very fitting punishment. As for the Duergar, we should have little sympathies for them either. While not all of them were on board with the Absolute, they seemed more than content with attacking the Myconids, taking the gnomes as slaves, and generally behaving like pricks in our presence, so in many ways they got what was coming for them. So, with a few more threats removed down here in the Underdark, we now set our sights on those that are still left, and, well, those of you familiar with what comes next are probably already itching for the next few episodes. Until then, I hope you enjoyed today's one, and if you did, then I would be very happy if you could leave a thumbs up. As always, if you like what I'm doing and want to support me and my channel further, then you can go ahead and subscribe to stay up to date, grab some merch over on shop.petecomplete.com, or become a channel member or Patreon supporter. Thank you all for watching, and I'll see you next time. Cheers.